तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्दिः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ जयन्ती मंगलकाली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवदात्रे स्वाहा स्वदा नमोस्तुते। ॐ शांति शांति शांति। Sairam Lin, Sairam from Malaysia.
Sairam Sharma, Sairam from New Zealand. Welcome to our listeners, wherever you are. We welcome you, and we look forward to sharing more of Swami's divine gems of wisdom with you all. Speaking of gems, today's topic, and thank you, Swami, for allowing us to speak, is diamond or die mind? ? Now, Swami was very well known for materializing the most beautiful diamonds, and I have seen them. I have looked into them. I have looked into their facets. Some of them you can look into and see Swami or Shirdi Baba, or in the case of one diamond that I was shown, it was a diamond ring. I looked into it and I saw the Lord Buddha. But my husband looked into it and saw many temples. It was an extraordinary gem. Whatever spiritual thought was uppermost in your mind at that time, you would see it reflected in that diamond. Can you imagine what a magnificent stone that must have been? Swami had made that for an American devotee. Now, he had also made several beautiful diamond rings for other friends of mine. And one of them was the former service coordinator for Australia, because she had for many years brought so many groups of elderly people to the ashram. And I don't know if you can imagine what it is like for an elderly person to come into the ashram, but for them, coming from Australia and a comfortable Western way of life, it was very, very difficult. But this lady was so compassionate that she brought with her bags and bags of flour and bags of butter, long life butter, ghee, jars of jam, and in her apartment, she had a beautiful apartment with a kitchen. She would make lots and lots of scones. And scones are like a little bread cake that we have here in the Antipodes and in England. Some of you may be familiar with a scone. And she would butter these hot scones and give them with jam and a cup of tea to these elderly people. And suddenly she said they came right, because they had something familiar from home and sat around having a cup of tea and a scone, and they were all right and ready to enter ashram life. And for all this service and many more things that she did, Swami created her this magnificent diamond ring. And as he fitted it onto her finger, she had a thought, oh no, what if he says, die mind? Because she knew that sometimes when Swami made a ring, a diamond ring, and put it on someone's finger, he would make a play on the word diamond and say, die mind, which meant that person had to work on their mind. Your mind can't die completely. You've got to have a mind to operate. But Swami was talking about the lower mind, the one that gives us so much trouble, because we have a lower mind and we have a higher mind, which is our spiritual self. But when he made this ring for her, he fitted it on her finger, patted it, and he simply said, with love. And my friend said she heaved a sigh of relief that he didn't say, die mind. But Swami is very clear about the mind, and he says it should be steady. Now, how many of us have a steady mind? When he looked at me, he told me that my mind was often in the marketplace, because I was always thinking shopping, shopping, shopping. And he said my mind was sometimes like a monkey. Well, we've all heard about what he has to say about monkey mind. And to my friend, who was always a very worried person, fretting about her children, their horses, her husband, her clothes, he said to her, and you, madam, speaking to my friend, said, you have a mad monkey mind. I thought, phew, I've gotten off lightly. He told me my mind was sometimes like a monkey. This is how he would play with us. And he said the mind should be steady on one chosen image of God. So whatever your chosen image is, that's where you want to keep your mind steadily on God. You can do it even when you're riding in the car. You can be saying his name. Yes, you are focusing on traffic and driving, but you are also chanting his name. It's not so difficult to do. You're doing it mentally, but you will find that your mind is very, very much alert, because driving can be a dangerous occupation. Swami said, when an image is made of silver, the eyes and the hair and the mouth and the skin are all silver. The mind is poured into the mold of the image so that the mind is the image of God. He said, but the mind has two bad characteristics. Its tendency is not to go straight, but it moves obliquely. That means it goes in different angles. And its tendency is to desire and grasp all the objects that it sees. Now, I think all of you know, if you see a child going into the supermarket, their eyes are everywhere and they want to grab all the things they see. They want to grab the apple, they want to grab the sweets, they want to grab the bottle of milk. And Swami said, this kind of mind is like the snake, who moves by twisting and who bites all that it sees. He said the mind must go straight to God by facing him directly. How do we do that? How do we do that when we are distracted by so many things in this outer world? Swami is very clear. He says, without controlling the mind too rigidly and without allowing it to go too freely, we should encourage it to do good acts, and we should control it when there is any tendency to participate in bad acts. And thus, by distinguishing between good and bad, we can then guide the mind in a moderate manner between the two extremes. And he pointed out to control the mind and the thoughts is something basic to yoga. And this has been said by many people. And he said, do not condemn the mind as a monkey. It is fine. It is a fine instrument with which you can win either liberation or bondage. It all depends on how you manipulate it, how you operate it. Just like a car. You can operate a car recklessly, going off in all directions. You can be doing wheelies or donuts and burning the wheels off the car and burning out the points and wasting gas. Or you can drive the car slowly and carefully and arrive safely. Swami is quite clear that the three states of the mind are emptiness and pools of multiple thoughts and one pointedness. So there are three states of the mind. One of them, just you're sitting there, there's nothing there. It's empty, an empty glass. Simultaneous pools of multiple thoughts. Let's being in a supermarket. You're seeing all these different things that you want. Or at a party and you're seeing all these different people you want to talk to. And one pointedness is when the mind is focused completely on God. Where does it come from? The gunas. Indolence brings about blankness in the mind. That's laziness. When you see someone's just sort of, nothing in my head, because they are just being so lazy, there's nothing there. If a person is in the rajasic state, then the mind is full of action. And the mind starts wandering here and there. And when the mind is in its satwic state, the quality that promotes sacred aspects of human life, it stills the mind into one pointed contemplation. Madhavira used to say, don't think, when you think you are meditating, you're not meditating. You must first concentrate and then contemplate. then the contemplation should funnel into one pointed contemplation, that is, the thoughts of God. Only when you are cultivating the satwic state can you undertake meditation with ease. At first, this job is hard. I can tell you, I had a mind that scattered all over, and sometimes when I'm under pressure, I can lose it. My mind will start skittering around like it's on roller skates. But Swami's very clear. By proper training, this agitation can be calmed by the japam of Om. That's so simple. And then the mind settles down. The mind is controlled by good counsel. Now, I remember when Sam Sandweiss was describing when Dr. Hislop was passing away. Dr. Hislop had had cancer for some years, and yet when he was 90 years old, Swami sent him on a tour of Japan. Can you imagine? He was in a wheelchair, but he still undertook a speaking tour of Japan. Not long after, Dr. Hislop returned home, and it was clear that he was in the last days, and he fell into a coma. And you can imagine how anyone would feel knowing that suddenly you have to slip away from everything you have loved and known. But the devotees surrounded him, including Dr. Sandweiss, and began chanting Om. And they noticed that the agitation in Dr. Hislop, even though he was in a coma, he was showing signs of some agitation. As soon as the devotees began chanting Om, Dr. Hislop relaxed, and he very peacefully and gently slipped away to meet his divine master. This is the power of Om. It is so simple. And Swami is the Om. He has said this many times. He is the Om. So by chanting Om, we are chanting his divine name, and we are directing our mind to one pointedness, to that divine satwic state, which is its divine inheritance. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. तस्मात् कारुण्य भावेन रक्ष रक्ष साईश्वरा. हरि ओम तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु. ओम शांति शांति शांति.